It's now 2024, and many players still don't know how to build wide-gap shooting floors.
Brother,
So in this tutorial, I'll show you all the various methods, how to apply them to some common footprints, identify which build-out you need for your own design, things to watch out for, and how to get the best peaks. Besides splitting upkeep between the main TC and externals, one advantage of wide gaps is the grief protection they offer. This example has externals, but raiders can destroy the main TC and put a new one on this windmill tower as it's 7 floors high and out of the privilege bubble. Wide gaps extend privilege to the roof and prevent this from happening. So for most applications, you'll need one of two build-outs, 2 squares or 3 squares. Use a 2 square build-out when designing a fairly flat base with no protruding honeycomb, and use a 3 square build-out when your honeycomb does stick out. For either one, cap it with a triangle, remove the build-out, and build back towards the base with triangles to create a gap. But note that you won't be able to place a foundation in the centre. On the 3 square build-out, you can swap the triangle for a square to create a better shooting floor. To do this, build up by one more square, but this won't work for wall stack bases. Or instead, you can do it this way. To wrap the wide gap around the base, you need to match the shape of it with square and triangle gaps. But in some cases, you need to attach the foundations to the base to prevent unplaceable pieces, weird gaps in your shooting floor, or unnecessary extra external TCs. Here are a few examples of footprints with 2 square build-outs. And here are a few more with 3 square build-outs. But some footprints that have angled sides instead of flat ones need slightly different build-outs. Footprints that have a triangle gap can be done like so. This is just a 2 square build-out with an extra triangle at the start. Here are some popular examples. For footprints that are 3 triangles with square gaps in between, first you need to center the build out, then add 2 more squares, then build back like so. Follow the shape of the base to complete. Here are some more examples. For footprints that have this double triangle shape, again, first you'll have to center the build out, then 2 squares and build back. You can add a 3rd square for an alternative wide gap, whichever fits your footprint best. Here's an example of a 2 square build out. And a 3 square build out. Some footprints will have a double triangle indent like this. The build out is the same as the last one, but you just add another triangle at the start. Again, you can build up by 2 or 3 squares to fit your footprint. Here's an example of a 2 square build out. And a 3 square build out. And lastly, we have this corner module for a triangle square gap. This isn't actually a wide gap, it's an offset, and is mostly used on 4x4s and 5x5s, but personally I think in these cases a freehand shooting floor is better. If your base is wall stacked, then you'll need to attach the wall stacked sections of the base to the wide gap. This can be easily done on a 2 or 3 square build out by connecting the 2 together with square frames that pass through the vertical ones. These methods can also be used to reduce the amount of external TCs on non-wall stack bases. And here it is on a 2 square build out, but you have to use a square floor instead of a frame if you have vertical frames blocking placement. This can be done with other wide gap build outs, but really depends on what footprint you're using. If you need help with that, visit my Discord in the description. Quite often I see poorly designed shooting floors like this. Not only does it look crap, but the peaks are ineffective. For the best peaks, you need a range of half height and full height windows. This can be achieved by putting half walls halfway up the shooting floor. They must be halfway up, so your peaks aren't blocked and raiders can't hide behind them. A half height frame would be useful for this. If you have a square foundation in your wide gap, you can do this, which will add some necessary far away peaks, and also a retake onto the roof of your base. If you have double triangle sections, which are directly attached to the base, you can use this module for the same effect. Another useful feature is to have lowered ramps in your shooting floor, which will give even more great angles. Oh, and it really bugs me when I see this. You'll end up with useless angles like this if you connect the whole shooting floor to the wide gap. For the best angles, some parts must be connected to the base itself to prevent blind spots. Another great feature you could implement is a wide gap mini China wall. This adds another angle of defense to your base, and very cheap to build using these breach peaks. And if you want to go all out, you could build a wide gap shell. This will add another wall of protection to your base, while still keeping your wide gaps by using low walls. This will also give you inner peeks into the shell, but the shooting floor must be covered by turrets to prevent raiders from gaining full control. The shell does block some outside angles, but that doesn't matter because if the walls get destroyed, this will open up even more angles, and the shooting floor will still be held up by the metal frames. Here's an example of how to build this section. Oh, and if you want a wide gap shell on a wall stacked base, the shot front will glitch through the square frames. And one more thing before I go is a word about progression. In some cases, it's possible to plan your base design so the external TC and gatehouse or bedroom is all part of the same wide gap build out. This means you can put down your external TC before wide gapping, which is more efficient. So get in the build server now and start practicing. That's all from me. Cheers.